It was a hot afternoon in Lagos, the kind of heat that seems to stick to your skin, weighing down with its intensity. Emeka, a 15-year-old boy, walked home from school with his head lowered, trying to avoid the people rushing by him. He felt like everyone was watching him, judging him. His school fees had been given to him by his stepmother, Mama Ngozi, and he knew this was his chance to avoid her anger. If he came home without the receipt for the payment, she would be furious. Emeka's world felt like it depended on this moment. But despite his best efforts to keep the money safe, he couldn't feel the weight of it in his pocket anymore. The slip of a small paper and the crinkle of money in his hand had been replaced by emptiness. He checked his pockets over and over again, but it was gone. Where is it? Where is the money? Emeka thought, panic starting to rise in his chest. His heart began to pound, and his palms became sweaty. How could he face Mama Ngozi now? She had warned him that if he lost the money, there would be serious punishment for it. She had already made it clear that she didn't care much for him. It was as though he was a burden in the house. As he walked down the narrow, crowded streets, the heat seemed unbearable. His feet dragged as the thought swelled in his mind. The worst part was not that the money was lost. It was the fear that his stepmother would punish him. He had seen her temper before. She wouldn't hesitate to beat him or make him feel worthless. The thought made him choke up, and soon tears began to fill his eyes. He sat on a small step beside the road, hoping for a miracle. The money was gone. What will he do? His throat tightened. What would his family think? Not far from Emeka's position, a woman sat in a small roadside stall arranging fruits. She was busy, but as she glanced up, she noticed the boy who seemed to be in distress. His eyes were filled with tears, and he looked lost, as though the weight of the world was too heavy for him to carry. Her name was Madam Ngozi. She had lived in this part of Lagos for years. A widow, she had learned to survive by selling fruits and vegetables. Her small store was her only source of income, but she never turned away anyone who needed help. She had faced her own challenges, raising her daughter Agatha on her own after her husband passed away, but kindness had always been her guiding light. Seeing the boy in distress, she couldn't turn away. "My child," she called out, walking over to Emeka with a kind smile. "Why are you crying?" Emeka looked up, startled by her voice. He wiped his eyes quickly, embarrassed by his tears. I lost my school fees, Mama. I don't know what to do. I have searched everywhere, but it's gone." Madam Ngozi's heart softened when she saw how scared and hopeless the boy looked. She knew what it felt like to be in trouble with no one to turn to. "Calm down, my son," she said gently, her voice steady. "Tell me what happened." Emeka looked down at his hands, feeling ashamed. He explained the whole story. The money his stepmother had given him, how he had tried so hard to keep it safe, and how somehow it had slipped away without him noticing. Madam Ngozi listened carefully, nodding as she took in his words. She could see the sincerity in his eyes. She could feel the weight of his fear. "How much is the school fees?" she asked after a moment. 5,000 naira, ma," Emeka replied, his voice barely audible. Madam Ngozi didn't hesitate. She understood his situation all too well. She reached into the small tin box hidden beneath her store, counting the little money she had earned that day. It wasn't much, barely enough to get by, but she knew she had to help. She handed him the money, her hands trembling slightly. "Take this, my son," she said quietly. "Go and pay your school fees. Don't worry about anything. I've been where you are, and I know education is the key to a better life." Emeka's eyes widened in disbelief. "Mama, are you sure? This is your last money?" "Yes, my child," she said, nodding softly. "It might be my last for today, but it's okay. God will provide." She placed a hand on his head. "You will make it, my son. Just promise me you will stay focused on your studies. One day, you will do great things." Emeka could hardly believe it. No one had ever done something like this for him before. He took the money with shaking hands, grateful beyond words. His heart was filled with a warmth that he hadn't felt in a long time. "Thank you, Mama. I promise I will make you proud. I won't forget you." Madam Ngozi smiled, giving him a gentle pat on the back as he rushed towards the school, clutching the money like it was his lifeline. She returned to her store, her heart light even though her body felt weary. The kindness she had shown Emeka had come from deep within her, and she knew it was the right thing to do. As she sat down again, she closed her eyes for a moment and whispered a prayer. She hoped that one day, her small acts of kindness will come to full circle. That evening, Emeka returned home, his eyes tired, but his heart a little lighter. He had paid the school fees, and the receipt was safely tucked in his pocket. As he stepped into the small home, he found his father, Papa Chijioke, sitting on a bench by the door, looking worried. The past few months had been hard on him. The loss of his job weighed heavily on his shoulders. "Emeka, my son," Papa Chijioke said, his voice filled with relief as he saw the receipt in Emeka's hand. "Did you pay the school fees?" "Yes, Daddy, I paid," Emeka nodded, but his eyes were clouded with uncertainty. Papa Chijioke let out a deep sigh of relief. "Good. That's one less thing to worry about." But Emeka hesitated, his heart sinking. "Daddy, there is something I have to tell you." Papa Chijioke raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" "I lost the money, Daddy," Emeka said, his voice barely audible. "I don't know how, but I searched everywhere and I couldn't find it." Papa Chijioke's face changed instantly. The color drained from his face, and he stood up in anger. "What?" His voice rose in anger. "How could you lose it? Do you understand how much that money meant to us? We have nothing left, and your stepmother, she will never forgive me." Emeka's stomach twisted in knots. He had failed again. He had let his family down. His father turned away, his frustration bubbling over. Then Emeka spoke up again. "But someone helped me, Daddy. A woman. She gave me the money to pay for the school fees. She said her name was Mama Ngozi. Papa Chijioke stopped in his tracks. He turned to look at his son. What? A woman helped you? Emeka nodded. Yes, she sells fruits by the roadside. She saw me crying, and when I told her what happened, she gave me the money. She said I should focus on my education and not worry. For a long moment, Papa Chijioke was silent. Then finally, he sat down on the bench again, this time with a look of quiet amazement. God bless that woman. His voice was softer now. In a world like this, for someone to show such kindness is rare. Emeka smiled, feeling a sense of peace wash over him. Yes, Daddy, she helped me, and I won't forget her. Some years passed, and Emeka had graduated from secondary school and engaged in other meaningful activities to better their life. So one day, Emeka woke up earlier than usual that morning. It has been 6 months since he first took that business course, and things were starting to change for the better. He had learned a lot about business, how to market his products, how to manage his money, and how to negotiate deals with suppliers. Little by little, his efforts were paying off. Emeka has started by selling small electronics, second-hand phones, and accessories that he bought from various sources. His business wasn't huge, but it was growing. He had made enough money to cover his school fees, buy food for his family, and even save a little for future ventures. But despite his growing success, something still gnawed at him. Madam Ngozi's face was never far from his thoughts. Every time he made a sale or earned a little more money, he remembered how she had given him the chance to succeed when he had nothing. Emeka sat at his small desk, looking at the receipts for his most recent sales. It wasn't much, but it was a good start. He knew he could do more, and more importantly, he knew he had to find Madam Ngozi again. Unknown to him that Madam Ngozi's store was demolished cruelly by the government for obstruction, her items destroyed, and in a bid to survive, she had to relocate to another environment. But the more he thought about Madam Ngozi, the more uncertain he became. What could he possibly offer her? He had a little idea where she had gone. What could he possibly offer her? He quickly started tracing her again from her old neighbors, and then he got a little clue where she moved to. Finally, Emeka was able to locate her. He now constantly sent food items to her, but he felt it's not enough compared to the help she gave him. Emeka was determined. He had promised her that he would never forget her, and he wasn't about to break that promise. Meanwhile, Madam Ngozi had been working hard to rebuild her life. With the loan from the non-profit organization, she had been able to rent a small store again, this time in a better location where there were more customers. The money she earned was still modest, but it was a better start. She worked from dawn till late in the evening, often with her daughter Agatha by her side, helping to arrange the fruits and hawk them sometimes, sell to customers, and keep the store clean. Madam Ngozi had also become more involved in her community. She had joined a women's group that helped other small business owners, and she had started volunteering at a local church that provided food for the homeless. The connections she had made had helped her feel less isolated, and she began to regain her sense of purpose. But despite all the progress, Madam Ngozi's heart was still heavy with worry. She feared for Agatha's future. Agatha had grown into a smart, beautiful young lady, but life in Lagos wasn't easy. She had graduated from secondary school and wanted to continue her education, but money was always an issue. Madam Ngozi couldn't afford the fees for Agatha to attend university, and she didn't want her daughter to end up in the same circle of struggle that had defined her own life. One evening, as they sat down to a modest meal of rice and beans, Agatha looked at her mother with concern. "Mama," she said softly, "I know how hard you are working. Please don't worry about my education. I will try my best to find a way to help." Madam Ngozi smiled at her daughter, but her heart ached. "You've already helped me more than you will ever know, Agatha." She placed her hand on her daughter's hands. "You have a bright future ahead of you, and we will find a way out by the grace of God." Days later, while Emeka was out buying stock for his small business, he had an unexpected encounter. He had gone to the market early to look for new items to sell, and as he walked through the bustling stores, he overheard a conversation. "I am looking for a woman named Madam Ngozi," a man said, holding up a flyer. "She used to sell fruits near the main road. Have you seen her?" Emeka's heart skipped a beat. Madam Ngozi? He rushed over to the man, barely able to contain his excitement. "I know her. I know where she is." The man turned to Emeka, surprised by his eagerness. "Do you?" "I've been trying to find her for weeks." Emeka nodded eagerly. "Yes, I can take you to her. She's been working hard to rebuild her store after the demolition." The man's face softened. "Thank you, young man. I'm from the local community organization. We want to support her business and help her get back on her feet." "She was recommended." Emeka's mind raced. He could hardly believe it. This was the opportunity he had been waiting for. Madam Ngozi was about to get the help she deserved. Without wasting another second, Emeka led the man to Madam Ngozi's new store, where she was busy arranging her fruits. When Madam Ngozi saw Emeka approaching with the stranger, her face lit up with surprise and warmth. "Emeka," she called, her voice filled with joy. "Mama, I have someone here to see you," Emeka said, stepping aside to let the man introduce himself. The man stepped forward with a friendly smile. "Madam Ngozi," he said, handing the flyer over to her. "I'm from the community organization, and you were recommended. We've been following your progress, and we want to help. We are offering you a small grant to help you grow your business and get the resources you need." Madam Ngozi stood there stunned. This was the help she had prayed for. "You've come to help me?" she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Emeka watched with a growing sense of pride. He was happy that he is the part of the people making this happen. His hard work, his persistence, and his determination had brought him back to the woman who had once helped him in his time of need. Later that evening, as Madam Ngozi sat down with her daughter Agatha to share the good news, Emeka came in and sat close to them. He couldn't believe what he had just done. He had linked an organization to Madam Ngozi. He had brought her the help that will assist her, and now she will be able to rebuild her life better. But there was something else weighing on his heart, something he had hidden for so long. He needed to tell Madam Ngozi how much she meant to him. He felt she is not aware yet. It wasn't just about paying her back for the money she had given him. It was about acknowledging the impact she had on his life. Emeka stood up and walked over to the small mirror in his room. He had changed. He was no longer the boy who was suffering. He was someone with a purpose, someone who could give back. And now it was time to let Madam Ngozi know just how much she had helped him. The next day, Emeka returned to Madam Ngozi's store. He was determined to speak from his heart. When he arrived, she was busy talking to customers, but when she saw him, she smiled and waved him over. "Emeka, my son," she greeted him. "How are you today?" Emeka took a deep breath. "I'm good, Mama, but there is something I need to tell you." Madam Ngozi looked at him curiously, sensing the seriousness in his tone. Immediately she finished attending to the last customer. She came close to him and asked, "What is it, my son?" Emeka paused for a moment, gathering his thoughts. "You saved my life, Mama." His voice cracked with emotion. "When I lost the money, I didn't know what I was going to do, but you helped me when I had nothing. You gave me hope, and that's why I've worked so hard to get here. I'm not the person I am today without you." Tears welled up in Madam Ngozi's eyes as she listened. "Emeka, my child, I never expected anything from you. I only wanted you to succeed. I only wanted to help." Emeka shook his head, his eyes filled with gratitude. "But you gave me more than just money. You gave me the courage to believe in myself. And now I want to help you just like you helped me." Madam Ngozi placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've already done more than enough, Emeka. You've given me the greatest gift, a chance to rebuild, a chance to have hope again. I will never forget what you've done for me." With the community grant in hand, Madam Ngozi felt like a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. For the first time in years, she could see a clear path forward. Her store was growing, and the community was supporting her. Emeka's efforts had given her more than just financial assistance. They had given her the chance to reclaim her dignity, her future, and assist in training her daughter in the university. But as Madam Ngozi continued her work, there was still a little worry about Agatha's education. She knew that Agatha was bright. She had the potential to go far in life, but the cost of tuition fee abroad for her choice of course in the university was a barrier that Madam Ngozi couldn't overcome on her own. One evening, as they sat together after a long day of work, Agatha spoke up. "Mama, I want to go to school. I want to become somebody, just like you always dreamed for me." Agatha's eyes sparkled with determination. Madam Ngozi looked at her, her heart aching. "I know you do, Agatha. I know. But I'm still trying to gather the fees. The fees are too high. If I pull them up once from my store, we'll go bankrupt. For now, I can't afford it right now. I will still need to save up more. Agatha took her mother's hand, squeezing it gently. Don't worry, Mama. We'll find a way. Mama Ngozi smiled, feeling the love and strength in her daughter's words. But in the quiet of the night, she prayed for a way to make Agatha's dream come true. Meanwhile, Emeka's business had grown significantly. What started as a small second-hand electronics shop had expanded into a small enterprise. Emeka had learnt about marketing and branding, and with the help of his online business course, he was able to tap into a bigger market. One afternoon, while Emeka was meeting with a new supplier, he received an unexpected phone call from Mr. Ajayi, the man who had helped Madam Ngozi get the grant. Emeka, I have good news, Mr. Ajayi said. We've been following your progress also, and would like to offer you an opportunity to work with us on a project that helps small business owners like your mother. Emeka was stunned. A real opportunity to make a difference. We want you to join our team as a business mentor. You've shown great potential in your own business and we believe you could help others in the community. The organization is looking for someone with your skills and experience. Emeka's heart skipped a beat. This was more than just a business opportunity, but this was a chance to give back, to help others who had been in his position. He had promised Madam Ngozi that he would never forget her, and now there was an opportunity to do much more for her. I'll be honored, Mr. Ajayi. Emeka's voice was firm with excitement. I'll do everything I can to help. As Emeka settled into his new role as a business mentor, helping other small business owners navigate the challenges of starting and growing their ventures, he faced an unexpected challenge. His stepmother, Mama Nkechi, had always been a tough woman, but recently she seemed even more distant and critical. She had always been strict with him, but now she seemed to be questioning his decisions, especially his involvement with the community organization. Emeka, I don't understand this whole business mentor thing, Mama Nkechi said one evening. You should be focusing on making money for us. Helping others isn't going to put food on the table. Emeka felt a familiar pang of frustration. His stepmother's words stung, but he knew better. He knew better than to let her negativity get to him. He had worked too hard to turn his life around. I am making money, Mama, Emeka said calmly, but I'm also giving back. This is an opportunity to help others build something for themselves, just like I did. Mama Nkechi frowned, her eyes narrowing. You've always been too soft, Emeka. People don't care about kindness. They only care about results. Emeka's heart sank. He had tried to make her understand, but it seemed her view of success was different. However, he knew he had made the right choice, and he wasn't going to let anyone, not even his stepmother, stop him from giving back to the community that had given him so much. As the months passed, Madam Ngozi's business continued to grow. The grant from the community organization has provided a much-needed boost, but there was still one final hurdle: the looming threat of rising costs. The price of fruits had increased due to supply shortages, and Madam Ngozi's profit had begun to drop. One day, as she sat behind her store sorting through the fruits, she overheard a conversation between two other vendors. "Did you hear about the new government tax?" one of the women said. They are going to raise prices for small businesses like ours. The money we are making won't be enough anymore. Madam Ngozi's heart sank. The weight of the world seemed to fall on her shoulders again. She had fought so hard to get back on her feet. But now, it seemed like there was yet another obstacle in her path. As she walked home that night, Agatha could see the worry on her mother's face. "Mama, what's wrong?" "The prices are going up, Agatha," Madam Ngozi sighed. "I don't know how we'll keep going at this rate." Agatha took her mother's hands in hers. "Don't worry, Mama. We'll find a way. You've always taught me to keep going no matter what. We'll figure it out together." Madam Ngozi smiled softly, grateful for her daughter's strength. But inside, she felt a sense of hopelessness creeping in. How long could they keep fighting? Weeks went by and Emeka continued to help others through his business mentor role. His influence was starting to spread, and he had begun working with a number of local businesses to help them grow. But despite his success, he couldn't shake the thought of doing more things for Madam Ngozi as he desired. He had promised her that he would never forget her, and he was still determined to help her always. After hearing about the new tax on small businesses, Emeka knew that Madam Ngozi was going to need more support. One day, Emeka showed up at her store, his face serious but filled with purpose. "Mama, I need to talk to you." Madam Ngozi looked up, surprised to see him at that time of the day. "Emeka, what's wrong?" "I heard about the new taxes, and I know it's making things harder for you." Emeka's voice was filled with concern. "I want to help you. I've been saving up some money and I want to invest in your store. Together we can expand this business." Madam Ngozi was taken aback. "Emeka, you've already done so much for me. I can't accept more." "Mama," Emeka said softly, "you gave me everything when I was in dire need. I have not even started returning the favor yet. I believe in you and I know that together we can make this work." Madam Ngozi was silent for a long time, tears welling in her eyes. She had never imagined that a young boy whom she had helped so many years ago would return to her as a man ready to give back continuously. Finally, she spoke. "Okay, Emeka, let's do this together." With Emeka's help, Madam Ngozi's store began to flourish. The infusion of money from Emeka allowed her to purchase higher quality fruits and other food items. She expanded her product range, selling spices, ingredients, cooking oil, and lots more, which brought in more customers. But the road to success was not an easy one. The new government taxes continued to pose a threat to small businesses in the area. Madam Ngozi found herself constantly balancing the rising cost of goods with the need to keep her prices affordable for her loyal customers. Emeka, who had been working tirelessly as a business mentor, now turned his attention fully to helping Madam Ngozi. He used his skills in marketing to promote her store, setting up a social media account for her business. He posted daily updates showing the fresh produce and unique products she offered, which began to attract a wider audience. One day, as Emeka sat down with Madam Ngozi after a long day of work, he asked, "Mama, how do you feel about everything? How are you holding up?" Madam Ngozi smiled, wiping the sweat from her forehead. It's not easy, Emeka. Every day is a challenge, but I'm grateful for what we've achieved. I never imagined I'll be able to sell this much, even sell online, let alone have my own social media account. You've worked hard for this, Mama, Emeka said, his eyes proud. It's all paying off now. You are not just surviving, you are thriving. Madam Ngozi took a deep breath, her eyes glistening with tears. It feels like I'm starting over again, but this time I have something more. She paused, looking at Emeka. I have hope, and I have you. Though Madam Ngozi's business was improving, the challenges were far from over. One afternoon, as she was preparing her store for the evening rush, she received an unexpected visit. A local businessman who had been watching her progress approached her with an offer that made her heart race. Madam Ngozi, I see what you're doing here, and I think there is potential, the man smiled sleekly. I have a business proposal for you. If you partner with me, we can take your store to the next level. I will invest in your business and together we can expand it more. Madam Ngozi was taken aback. She had worked so hard to get where she was. Could she trust this man? His offer seemed too good to be true. What's the catch? She asked cautiously. No catch, madam. I just want to help you grow. Think about it. You will have more produce, better quality goods, and a bigger customer base. We can make this business a success. Madam Ngozi was torn. She didn't want to lose control of her business, but the idea of expanding it the more and ensuring her daughter's future was tempting. Few minutes later, Emeka arrived at the store. She looked over at Emeka, who was standing at the edge of the store, watching the exchange. She invited Emeka into the discussion, and Emeka stepped forward. After listening, his voice calm but firm. Mama, be careful. Not everyone who offers help is genuine. The businessman smiled, his charm almost too smooth. Your son is right to be cautious, but think about what is at stake here. Madam Ngozi turned to Emeka, her eyes searching his face. What do you think, Emeka? Emeka hesitated. He had learned to trust his instincts, and right now, something about the businessman's offer didn't sit right with him. We've come this far on our own, Mama. I don't want to see you lose everything because of someone who may not have our best interest at heart. After a long pause, Madam Ngozi made her decision. She shook her head, a calm resolve settling over her. No, thank you, sir. But I'll continue on my own. I've worked too hard to let someone else take control of what I have built. The businessman's smile faded, but he quickly regained his composure. Suit yourself, madam. But remember, opportunities like these don't come around often. He walked away, leaving Madam Ngozi and Emeka standing together. Their decision made. Emeka looked at Madam Ngozi, his respect for her growing even more. You did the right thing, Mama. She smiled, her heart filled with gratitude. Thank you, Emeka. I couldn't have done it without you. As the weeks passed, Madam Ngozi's business continued to thrive, but there was still the issue of Agatha's education. She had not given up on the dream of sending her daughter to the university for her dream course abroad. But the reality of the situation was growing more difficult. One evening, as they sat together for dinner, Agatha spoke up. Mama, I've been thinking, Her voice was quiet but filled with determination. I want to start working. I know you can't afford the school fees right now, but maybe I can help. I'll get a job and save the money for school. Madam Ngozi shook her head gently. No, Agatha. You're too young to be worrying about work. Your education is important and I won't let you sacrifice it. But Mama, Agatha pressed. You've worked so hard for me to get an education. I want to do the same for you. Emeka, who had been silently listening, finally spoke. Mama, Agatha is right. We've been doing this together for a reason. I'll help too. We'll find a way. Madam Ngozi looked at her son and daughter, her heart full of pride. You both are my greatest blessings. I promise we'll find a way out. As Emeka's business continued to grow, he began to receive more recognition from the local community. He was invited to speak at a small business seminar where he shared his story of growth, determination, and the importance of giving back. It was a pivotal moment for him. I've had my struggles, just like many of you, Emeka said, but I never give up, and neither should you. It's not just about making money, it's about helping others, building something greater than yourself. The audience was moved, and many business owners approached him afterwards, eager to learn from his experience. Emeka was becoming a mentor to others, and his reputation as a successful young businessman was beginning to spread. But there was one thing on his mind, Madam Ngozi. He hadn't forgotten his promise to her. After the seminar, Emeka met with a potential investor who had approached him after hearing his speech. I've also been following your progress, Emeka, and I think there is a lot of potential in you and in what you are doing. I want to offer you an opportunity to expand your business. The offer was tempting. The investor was well connected and could provide the financial backing Emeka needed to take his business to the next level. But Emeka hesitated. I can't do this without giving back, he thought to himself. Madam Ngozi had helped him when no one else did. Now it was time to return the favor in many folds. He couldn't just focus on his own success. Emeka met with the investor again, but this time he made it clear that his business venture would be about more than just making money. He proposed a partnership with Madam Ngozi, offering her the chance to grow her business and his guidance and financial support. I want to help my mother's business grow, Emeka told the investor, but I want to make sure it stays true to what she built. This isn't just about profits, it's about community, family, and helping each other. The investor listened carefully and then smiled. I admire your vision, Emeka. This partnership could work, so let's make it happen. Emeka's heart swelled with pride. This was one of the moments he had been waiting for. The chance to not only give back to Madam Ngozi, but to build a future that will help others as well. Emeka's decision to partner with the investor marked a new chapter in his life. He now had the resources to take his business to the next level. But he knew that with great opportunities came great responsibility. The weight of this responsibility wasn't lost on him. This wasn't just about growing his own business. It was about creating something that could support his family and help Madam Ngozi achieve her dreams. But the path wasn't easy. The first challenge Emeka faced was convincing Madam Ngozi that partnering with an investor was the right move. She had worked hard to get to where she was, and the thought of giving up even a small part of her business was a difficult one. Her independence was something she valued deeply. One evening, as Emeka sat down with her at the small table in her store, he began to explain the opportunity. Mama, Emeka said, looking at her with sincerity, I know how hard you've worked to get here. I know how hard we have worked to get here. I know this business means everything to you, but we have a chance to take it further. With this investment, we can expand. We can make sure that our business grows and can sustain itself for years to come. We'll have branches in different states. Madam Ngozi hesitated. The idea of taking on debts or relinquishing control was difficult to accept. I've built this business on my own, Emeka. I can't just give it up. What if things go wrong? Emeka placed his hand on hers, his voice soft but determined. I understand, Mama, but I'm not asking you to give up everything. We'll still be in control, but with this investment, we can provide jobs for others, help more families, and make sure Agatha has the future she deserves. Madam Ngozi's heart softened. She could see the passion in her eyes. And for the first time, she realized that maybe this was the next step in her journey. It wasn't just about her anymore. It was about the future they could build together. After a long silence, she nodded. All right, Emeka, my son, let's do it. Let's expand the business the more. Just when things were starting to look up, disaster struck. 1 week after finalizing the investment, the government decided to increase taxes on small businesses again, making it even harder to keep prices competitive. Madam Ngozi's expenses skyrocketed. Even with the investment, her profit margins were shrinking, and she feared she would be forced to shut down. This can't be happening, Madam Ngozi paced around the store, looking at the invoices and the high prices of her goods. We've worked so hard. How can we keep going? Emeka sat across from her, staring at the growing pile of bills. His heart sank. They had just started building momentum, and now it felt like everything was slipping away. He knew that without adjusting quickly, they could lose everything. Mama, we have to find a way through this, Emeka said, his mind racing. I'll talk to Mr. Ajayi. We can find new suppliers, maybe adjust the prices. We will figure something out. But even as he spoke, Emeka couldn't shake the feelings of failure. He had promised Madam Ngozi that they would make it, but now the odds felt stacked against them. A few days later, Emeka decided to take a different approach. He reached out to other small business owners in the community to discuss the tax. It was a risky move, but he knew it could lead to something bigger. When he met with the other vendors, they discussed how to collectively lobby for lower taxes on small businesses and a reduction in the burden that had been placed on them by the local government. Emeka, who had learned about business laws during his course, helped them craft a formal petition to present to the authorities. The process wasn't easy. There were many meetings, long hours spent drafting proposals, and moments when it seemed like nothing could come of it. But Emeka didn't give up. He rallied the community, gaining support from other business owners who felt the same pressure. One afternoon, Emeka and Madam Ngozi went to the city council to present their petition. It was a tense moment, with the council members listening intently but not offering the immediate solutions. But after weeks of negotiations and hard work, the community succeeded. The government decided to reduce the new taxes on small businesses, providing a temporary reprieve and allowing vendors to breathe a little easier. With the tax burden eased, Madam Ngozi was able to stabilize her business. She continued working hard, but now with the confidence that the future held promise. She began hiring more people to work in her store, giving back to the community that had supported her through the difficult times. Emeka's mentorship in business management was so valuable, and his dedication helped Madam Ngozi grow her operations. She could now afford to expand her offerings, bringing in new goods and increasing the variety available to customers. But the true victory came when Madam Ngozi saw Agatha's face light up. One evening, as she handed her a letter from the university, Agatha had been accepted into one of the country's top institutions with a scholarship that will cover her tuition. "Mama, I did it. We did it. I got in," Agatha cried, her voice filled with joy. Madam Ngozi's heart swelled with pride and relief. Her daughter's dream was coming true, and it was all because of the sacrifice they had made together. The sleepless nights, the hard work, it was all worth it. "I knew you would make it, Agatha," Madam Ngozi whispered, tears filling her eyes. "I always knew you were meant for greatness." With the business thriving, Emeka found that he had built something lasting, something that would continue to grow. He had mentored dozens of other small business owners, helping them overcome obstacles and achieve success. But his greatest satisfaction came from watching Mama Ngozi flourish. One evening, Emeka sat with his father, Papa Chijioke, and his stepmother, Mama Nkechi, as they shared a meal. The atmosphere was different now. Lighter, filled with hope. Papa Chijioke looked at Emeka with pride. "My son, I can see how far you've come. I don't know how you did it, but you made us proud." Mama Nkechi, who had always been skeptical of Emeka's decisions, finally smiled at him. "I may not always have agreed with you, Emeka, but you've proven me wrong. You've done something amazing." Emeka smiled, humbled by their words. "Thank you, Mama. Thank you, Papa. I couldn't have done this without your support." Emeka's success wasn't just about business. It was about the love and loyalty he had to his family. He had become someone who not only survived but thrived by lifting up others along the way. As the years passed, Emeka and Madam Ngozi's businesses continued to grow. They became symbols of resilience and community strength, helping countless others find their way. Agatha graduated from university with honors, ready to take on the world. The small store that had once been Madam Ngozi's only source of income had now transformed into a thriving business empire. She had even opened new branches with Madam Ngozi's enterprise, becoming a well-known brand in the city. Emeka, now a very successful entrepreneur, decided to expand further. His focus shifted to social entrepreneurship, using his profits to help, to create opportunities for others. He built a training center to help young people start their own businesses, just like he did. The center was a place where he could teach them everything he had learned, the value of kindness, hard work, and community. One day, as Emeka sat at the head of a meeting with a group of young entrepreneurs, he looked around the room at the bright, eager faces. He saw Madam Ngozi standing in the corner, watching with pride. This was his legacy, one built on love, support, and desire to give back. Emeka smiled, knowing that his journey had come full circle. The struggles had shaped him, and now he was ready to give others the same opportunities he had received. As the years passed, Emeka's life had changed drastically. His business was thriving, and he had gained recognition as a mentor worldwide. But amidst all the success, one thing remained constant in his mind: Agatha, Madam Ngozi's daughter, the one person who had been by his side, quietly supporting him, Despite his many accomplishments, Emeka knew that it was Agatha's kindness and strength. Emeka knew that he needed Agatha by his side to keep him going. Over the years, he had come to admire her, not just as the daughter of the woman who had helped him when he had nothing, but as someone who had come to deeply care for. Emeka couldn't deny it any longer. He had feelings for Agatha, feelings that went beyond gratitude and friendship, but the thought of confessing terrified him. He had always kept his emotions in check, focusing on business and helping others grow. But now, as he saw Agatha flourish, he realized that his heart had quietly fallen in love with her. One evening, after a long day of work, Emeka sat down at his desk, looking out over the bustling Lagos streets. The more he thought about it, the more certain he became. He couldn't live with those feelings buried anymore. He had to tell Agatha how he felt. The next morning, Emeka made up his mind. He would talk to her. There was no more time for hesitation. The moment had come. He arrived at Madam Ngozi's store, his heart pounding in his chest. Agatha was there helping her mother arrange the fruits. Her focus sharp as she moved with practiced efficiency. Emeka watched her for a moment, admiring her beauty, her pose, and the quiet strength that emanated from her. Agatha looked up as she noticed Emeka standing nearby. She smiled warmly, a smile that always seemed to brighten his day. "Emeka, good morning," she said, her voice filled with the same warmth he had always found comforting. Emeka took a deep breath, gathering his courage. "Agatha, can we talk for a moment?" he asked, his voice steady but betraying the nervousness he felt inside. Agatha raised an eyebrow, sensing the seriousness in his tone. "Of course, Emeka, what's on your mind?" Emeka stepped closer to her, his gaze locking with hers. "Agatha, I've been meaning to tell you something for a while now, and I can't keep it inside anymore." His heart raced, but he continued. "I've always admired you. You've been a constant in my life, and you've helped me more than I can ever repay. But somewhere along the way, I realized..." He paused, struggling to find the right words. "I realized that I've fallen in love with you." There was a brief silence. Agatha's eyes widened in surprise, and her heart skipped a beat. She hadn't expected this, but as the words settled in her mind, something shifted inside her. She had known Emeka for years, admired him for his strength and his heart, but hearing him confess his feelings left her breathless. "Emeka," Agatha began softly, her voice filled with emotion. "I never knew you felt this way." She took a step closer to him, her eyes searching for his face. "I've always cared for you too, like a brother, but I didn't think you saw me in that way." Emeka's heart soared with relief. "I've always cared for you, Agatha, but it's not just about appreciation or admiration anymore. It's about love, and I want to spend my life with you." For a moment, Agatha was speechless. But then her expression softened. She had seen Emeka's dedication to building a better future, not just for himself, but for everyone around him. She had witnessed his growth, and now she saw the vulnerability in his eyes. Agatha stepped forward, placing her hand gently on his. "I care for you, Emeka, more than you know," she smiled, her heart finally aligning with her feelings. "I think I've loved you for a long time, but I didn't have the courage to admit it." Emeka's eyes lit up with joy. "So does it mean?" Agatha nodded, her smile growing. "Yes, Emeka, I love you too." Months passed, and Emeka and Agatha's relationship blossomed. Their shared dreams, mutual respect, and love for each other created a strong foundation for their future together. Emeka's business continued to grow, but now he had someone by his side who was just as committed to the work they did. They worked together side by side, building a future filled with love and opportunity. One day, as Emeka took Agatha's hand in his, he spoke from his heart. "Agatha, you've been my partner in everything, my mentor, my friend, my sister, my love. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Their wedding was a beautiful affair, filled with love, laughter, and the support of their families and friends. Papa Chijioke and Madam Ngozi watched with pride as their children took the next step together. As they stood together at the altar, Emeka looked at Agatha, his heart overflowing with gratitude. "You've made me the happiest man alive, Agatha. Thank you for believing in me, for loving me. I will always cherish you." Agatha smiled, her eyes glistening with love. "And I will always cherish you, Emeka. Together we will build a future full of love and purpose." The two of them exchanged vows, promising to support and love each other through all challenges and joy that life would bring. As the ceremony came to an end, they sealed their vows with a kiss and the crowd erupted in applause. As Emeka and Agatha walked into their new life together, hand in hand, they knew that their journey was just beginning. Their love had grown out of shared experiences, mutual support, and commitment to each other. Together, they will continue to build their business empire, support their community, and create a life filled with love, purpose, and endless possibilities. Their love story was not just one of passion, it was a partnership, a collaboration of two hearts and minds working towards a brighter future. And as they stood together watching the sunset, Emeka whispered softly to Agatha, "This is just the beginning. I can't wait to see what we will build together." And Agatha, with a heart full of love, replied, "Neither can I." Wow! Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit your notification bell so that you will be among the first to be notified each time I post new videos. And to my returning subscribers, you guys are simply amazing. What would I have done without you? Thank you so much for always stopping by to watch my videos. See you in my next one. Bye.